Out of a possible 220 players starting in Premier League games in the first weekend round of fixtures, only 56 of the 220 players were English, 25%.
Remember when Brexit was sold as a way to give more opportunities to English players to take back control of our game? So Jim White and Simon Jordan had a bit of a discussion about this, and I thought I'd give it a bit of an analysis and link it into politics, Farage, Brexit, and having English players in the English league.
The Premier League, remember, Simon, was set up on the understanding it would benefit our game and the grassroots football that goes with it.
Is that what it was set up on the basis of? I thought it was set up on the basis of getting more money to the current set of owners.
But having said that, so we've got, what, 56 English players out of 220 over the weekend there. Does the domestic league have any responsibility to feed the national team? Because when it comes down to it, you know, the domestic scene, the Premier League, the teams that play in the Premier League,
Yes.
The cream of that, you hope, will feature for, well, it's no, I was about to say Gareth Southgate, will feature for Thomas Tuchel at some stage. The cream going forward.
Sure. So they can't play in other leagues then. So the fact that all the countries that feature in our league, they pick their players and play for their international type teams. So all the Spanish that are in our league and the Germans and the Italians are getting picked to play for their national side. So our players can go abroad if they want and play in elite leagues in Spain and Germany and France and Italy and wherever else. It's a globalised league. We opened the door and we turned it into the greatest league in domestic football in the world. The only thing English about it is its geography.
And this is why I found this whole Farage t-shirt number 10 on the back being... It's just so fascinating that he's trying to mask sports and politics together. Yet this man has absolutely no interest in football whatsoever. I've never heard him talk about it. Only thing I've ever heard Farage talk about is cricket. And what I find even more fascinating is for someone who is a pro-Brexiteer and wanting to get rid of immigrants, he's not talked about it within the football context. Even though, at the time of Brexit, the chairman of the FA, Dyke, turned around and said this.
The movement of Labour changes, then English football clubs won't just be able to bring in any European footballer they want to. There will have to be a process.
But sometimes football does stand alone, doesn't it? There's a chance for negotiation. We've seen football being called a business, and yet sometimes it does stand on its own, doesn't it?
Well, I think the clubs will clearly want to will want a totally free market. Whether that is possible, we won't know for probably 2 years.
So what do your instincts tell you, good or bad? For football?
My instincts for football tell me that one of my concerns in my period as been chairman has been the decline in the opportunity for kids at the bigger clubs to get through and into the first team. Very few make it. If anything happens that makes gives their better chances, then I welcome it.
And yet the stats are showing it's made no difference.
Only 56 of the 220 players were English, 25%.
And only recently, Dyke has said this about Brexit.
It's a disaster for this country, I really do. And it's interesting, the Brexiteers, when you talk to them about it, they'll say, yes, but they accept that it hasn't gone well. And then they say, but we didn't do it the right way. Well, tell me what the right way of leaving was. I don't know the right way of leaving.
The only thing I ever see with Brexit is complete and utter failure. And I actually thought that this might have had a positive impact on the English game. You could have had the limits that they had in the 1990s in Italy and France, and you could have put a limit of maybe 8 foreign players in. If you capped foreign players at, say, 8 per squad, it would tear the Premier League's business model apart. The whole reason it's the richest league in the world is because it attracts the best players from everywhere. Spain, Brazil, Germany, Africa. If you shut the door on that talent, the quality drops, the global audience switches off, and the billions in TV rights follow them. And once the money goes, the stars go, and suddenly the Premier League stops being the best league in the world. And this really reflects Brexit. The Premier League has continued to grow because it hasn't got any employment restrictions, but the rest of the UK has. And the example I can give you is foreign investment in the UK. It's dropping like a stone. It's not going up. Nothing's helped it recover. And let's be honest, if you see scenes like this as a regular occurrence on TV and in newspapers and you're a foreign investor, why on earth would you invest in the UK when all you're seeing on TV is hatred to foreigners? But here's the funnier part. While the far right rage about immigration everywhere else, they never aim their anger at football. The Premier League is about 70% foreign players. Without them, it wouldn't be the Premier League. And the irony is many of the same people who shout the loudest about keeping Britain British are the ones filling terraces, worshipping strikers from Egypt, Brazil and South Korea. In football, nationalism takes a back seat to goals. As long as you're banging them in for the badge, you're adored. And honestly, thank God football ignored the Brexit playbook, because if it hadn't, we wouldn't have had players like Didier Drogba lighting up Chelsea, Thierry Henry making Arsenal immortal, or Salah becoming a legend at Liverpool. These players don't just play here, they become part of English football history.
So how many clubs are owned by English or indigenous people? Not many. How many are coached by them? Not many. How many are managed by them? Not many. How many of the players are English? Not many. What's the common denominator? Maybe we aren't good enough. Maybe we don't invest in our own businesses. Maybe our skill sets aren't good enough. And maybe the Premier League has become so significant because the smallest component part is English. Tragedy, as much as it sits uncomfortable with me because I'm a proud Englishman, the reality of it is that culturally, in lots of ways, we are not where we need to be on the football field. Technically, we're not there. We're much better than we used to be.
Yeah.
British players walk around with a sense of entitlement, and that they're entitled to have certain things that perhaps some of their counterparts around Europe don't think the same way. I think there's a great deal more professionalism in tragically, foreign players and foreign coaches than there seems to be. It can't just be that there's an anti-English sentiment as to the reasons why every manager in the Premier League isn't English, with a couple of notable exceptions, and they happen to be the ones sitting at the bottom of the league.
Hold on. The England team have reached the Euro finals back-to-back, 2020, 2024. That is no small feat, and he's just poo-pooed that. However, what I will say is, can you name the last English manager to win the Premier League? And can you name the last English manager to win the FA Cup? Answers at the end. And then it got a little bit tastier, because Simon Jordan had a bit of a dig at some of the politicians from the past, and a little bit later he has a dig at Nigel Farage.
After the 1990 World Cup, football back on its head, from a game that nobody wants to broadcast, politicians thought was an awful sport, Thatcher hated it, all that sort of stuff, to now this remarkable powerhouse of a domestic league, which actually, if you look at it on a prorated GDP basis, is actually probably better than the NFL, which is held up there as a poster boy of how you generate broadcast revenue based upon having 360 million people in a country and we only have 60. It's comparable. But the consequence of that was we made it a globally invested league, which meant that ultimately you've got people that are now buying football clubs
of course,
from all around the globe.
Oh, yeah.
And we've now got a talent pool all around the globe, and it's incumbent upon the English game to make its players better. And I'm surprised that we've got as much representation as 25%.
I find it absolutely fascinating that Simon Jordan is literally making a case for why Brexit could never work by using the Premier League as an example of leave it alone, make it global, and you can have some success that even the fans can get behind, whilst also showing that foreigners can integrate into English society and connect and work with English people. In other words, the exact opposite to Brexit. And then there's Simon Jordan's analysis of Farage's shirts.
I think it's just a piece of marketing that's basically suggesting that we're a winning team. And what do you associate a team with? Some team sports. It could have been rugby. Happens to be the biggest sport in the world is football. And he's using some creative imagery to say, I'm at number 10. I'm managing a team.
One of a number of message senders this lunchtime, Ryan, I'm not having that at all. Reform FC shirt, football style Reform FC shirt. You know what's going to happen? They're going to go to these rallies and they're going to wear their Reform FC number 10 shirts.
I don't think that's the message that Farage is. I don't think he's trying to create a fashion brand or an identity. I think he's just simply imparting a digital footprint and look at us, we're building a winning team. And this winning team has number 10 at the front of it because I'm going to number 10. But if people don't like it, they don't like it.
Maybe they don't like it.
You like Nigel. The last time I saw you, you couldn't blow enough smoke up his backside the last time I saw you. After constantly observing on me and my felt collars, as soon as Farage comes in, there you are.
Well,
there you are, over to him.
If this was Labour FC.
For me, for the game that I love and worked in for over a decade, having Nigel Farage anywhere near it is off-putting to say the least. And what I would make a bet on is that if anyone in the press has any sense about them, they would ask Nigel to name players in the England team or what local team he supports and name some of those players. And I'll bet you a bottom dollar right now he wouldn't be able to name one in his local team, and I doubt he could name the first 11 in the England team. So has Brexit failed English football? Numbers don't lie. Let me know your thoughts on Nigel, football and the Premier League and foreign players. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Once again, I'd like to say a big thank you to all of my Patreon and YouTube subscribers. You keep this channel going and growing. And to answer your question, the last English manager to win the Prem was Howard Wilkinson with Leeds. And the last English manager to win the FA Cup was in 2008 and Harry Redknapp. And if you enjoyed this video, you might like my book, Manufactured Fear, available on Amazon.